All right, it is time for a tag video. Hey everyone, it is Shannon, and I'm super excited to be here today and to share with you this video. This is going to be the Booktube Numbers Tag. I saw this over at Berna's Bookish Adventures, and the original was created by Jim's Books, Reading, and Stuff, and I'm really excited to do this one. I think the questions are really interesting. I am someone who likes numbers, and I definitely am aware of my book and reading related numbers, so it was really exciting to see these questions and to see that some of them were like, oh, I hadn't thought of it in that way, or I don't know what that number is, I have to go look it up, and I did have it somewhere, so that was, I mean, I got a lot of stuff on my reading spreadsheet, so it was fun to use that information for something. This tag is actually from back in February 2020, so I hope it's okay to do again, or not again, but to do it here 3 years later, because I am, so I really do hope it's okay. Let's get to the questions. The first question is, what was your first Booktube video? My first YouTube video was a welcome and announcement video. I had gone from a sideload channel to this channel, which is a non-sideload channel. So I had a film channel, but I wanted a channel where I could do anything I want. And so that was sort of welcoming people that were coming from my film channel and anyone new who happened to find me. So that was a more general video, but my first book-related video wasn't until a couple of months later, and it was a review video, which I don't do tons of anymore, and it was a review of Divergent by Veronica Roth. So that was back in 2013 was when I did that video. I have not rewatched it. I don't think I want to rewatch it. I did like the book, and I did like the series, so, but it's a long time ago now. So there you go. That was my first book-related video. Number 2, how many books are you currently reading? My currently reading right now is sitting at 17 titles, which is really good. My new goal is to have it 20 and under, and I have a specific set parameters of what I want those 20 books to be. Like, I don't want more of X amount of this genre or X amount of this type. So I'm working towards having my preset of 20, and my goal for that is October 31st. There are 9 titles that I want to finish by October 31st, and they're all titles that I have been bringing with me. They're my carry forwards from, like, some is like many years ago, and some is just from this year. So I'm trying to clear off all of the older titles and work with my new presets categories. So that is where I'm aiming. But as long as I'm under 20, I'm okay with that. It was when I was consistently in the sort of 20 to 30s, I was getting like, okay, we got to do something. So I have, and I'm in the final stretch of that challenge of getting those last 9 done, and then just keeping to the 20 that I want to be reading. Next up, what were your top 3 books that you read last year? I'm going to cheat just a little bit because I had 4 titles last year, which was 2022. I had 4 titles that I rated 10 out of 10. My spreadsheet is out of 10 and Goodreads is out of 5. But there were 4 titles I rated 10 out of 10 that weren't rereads. I don't really count rereads. They're sort of like honorable mentions, and I generally reread stuff that I rate 10 out of 10. So the 4 titles that I read for the first time that I gave 10 out of 10 to in 2022 are The Stone Angel by Margaret Laurence. This is the first in the Manawaka series. It took me a long time to read it. It's a Canadian literary fiction work that won. Did it win? I'm trying to remember if it won. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that. But it's absolutely brilliant. I loved it so much. It was a bit of a tough read, but it was a really, really good read. So that is one. I also gave 10 out of 10 to Kitty and the Midnight Rescue by Paula Harrison, illustrated by Jenny Løvlie. And the Kitty series, this is a different one. It's a kids illustrated series about Kitty, who's a girl who has superhero powers, and like a cat, so she's quick like a cat, and she has a cat buddy, and she goes around the city helping animals. That's the same page. And it's a wonderful, adventurous type stories. I've been continuing to read the series, and I just love how she's so determined to help and also very, physically dexterous and adventurous and brave. So it's a really wonderful series. So definitely recommend the Kitty series. And then also, oh my gosh, this one got me. Owlie series, from the Owlie series, Flying Lessons, which is the third in the series. This is by Andy Runton. I really liked it. I really liked it. Owlie is a really, really wonderful, generous character. I've loved all of the books that I've read from the Owlie series, but this one in particular, it got me. It really got me. And then to round things out, this one even has 3 in the title. Tango Makes 3, And Tango Makes 3 by Justin Richardson and Pete Parnell, illustrated by Henry Cole. This was fantastic, and it was a very long wait on my library holds list. My goodness, I think it took months, and it is absolutely fantastic. Highly recommend it. It's one that I would love to buy copies and put them in little free libraries, because I really think people can get a lot from that, and it was just a wonderful story. So those were my top 4 from last year that weren't rereads. Which I actually did not know that. I hadn't looked at my reading in that grouping. It's interesting to see it's 1 Canadian literary fiction and 3 kids illustrated works. That's what I read. That's sort of the proportions of what I read. Number 4, how many books did you read last year? I read 336 titles. That includes a lot of kids' books, manga, comics, graphic novels, short stories, in addition to novels. Novels especially adult novels, is way down in the percentage, but I don't really feel like it matters. I read every day, and but the volume, a lot of that volume is shorter works. So 336 though, that's a lot. Number 5, how many books have you rated 5 stars this year? So this I looked to Goodreads and had a count. I had no idea what the number would end up being, and it ended up being 23 titles out of 225 read so far. So that's about 10% of my rating is 5-star reads. Curious as to how other people feel, how, if you even know sort of the percentage of your reading. I had no idea. So I don't know if 10% is super generous, or super generous is not a great term, but sometimes I feel that way about it. I don't give 5 stars a lot anymore. I'll say that. It takes a lot to get a 5-star. But yeah, it actually was more than I expected. 23 was more than I expected. 10%, I don't feel like I had a strong sense of whether 10% made sense or not, in terms of my overall reading. I don't know. So, but that's the answer. I have more questions, but that's the answer. Number 6, do you have a reading target for this year, and are you on track? So I don't have a number of titles that I want to read per year. I put Goodreads at 120 or something, because I think it's 120, just so that I know I'm always going to read at least 10 a month. And this is because I've sort of really embraced reading shorter works, and this year I've really embraced reading kids' books, and I read a lot of, as I said, comics and manga and short stories. So, I mean, the numbers don't really say, I don't feel like they're a good guide. That being said, I do have a number of projects and goals that I am working towards that are, one title could hit multiple goals. So that's where I look to see how I'm doing and am I on track. So the number of project goals that I have for this year is 795. And my goal is actually to hit 50% of that target by October 31st, because I like to have November and December off from any goals, because it's preparation for the holiday season, and then the holiday season, I just don't find I find it too stressful to have goals to be met in those months. So I try and hit my goals by October 31st. So, and I find I like having way more options than if I said I want to read these 10 books this year. That feels like way too tight to me, way too static. So if I want to read 10 out of these 20 titles this year, that feels a bit better. So that's why I have a really high mark for goals, but I only want to hit 50%. So 795 goals is what I'm working towards for the year, but in actuality, I want to get 50% of that by October 31st. As of August 31st, because I calculate it monthly, I was at 47.42%. So I am on target, because I think I only need 5% a month to get the 50% by the end of October. So I think I'm actually a little ahead of the game. And I am feeling really good about that. So I guess, have a reading target for the year, and I am on track. Yay! Number 7. How many pages long is the book that you are currently reading now? Okay, so this one was tough, and I did misunderstand it, I think. Did I misunderstand it? Oh, I misunderstood it, so I put the answer as a bonus at the end. Okay, so but for the actual question, how many pages long is the current book that you're reading? I read multiple books at the same time, so I don't have like how much is left in the current book or how long that is. But when I did my calculation of my numbers on Sunday, because that's when I do sort of like my reading reset, I was reading 14 titles at that time, and the outstanding page count for all of those 14 titles was 2,537 pages. So that's my answer. I hope it's a good answer. Next up, how long are your videos? I am not sure like that I have a standard. When I did flip back in the YouTube dashboard, it looked like 22 minutes was about the average. I prefer closer to 15, and I feel like when I'm making videos more frequently, they do tend to be closer to between 10 to 15, but I usually have a fair amount to say. But they can get as long as 30 minutes. That's usually when it's like a haul or something more in depth. And if I do a vlog, it could definitely be an hour or more, depending on like what the blog is for and how much subject matter I am covering. But generally it looks like 22 is about the average, and but yeah, I'm trying to get closer to 15, but you know, I don't know, between 15 and 30 lands me at 22, so somewhere in that range. Next up, do you have a favorite number? I don't think so. I thought about this one for a while, and nothing really came to mind in terms of like having a certain affinity with, or like if someone says pick a number, do I always have the number in my mind or something like that. There are some numbers that I really like to draw, that especially ones that you write differently, like 4s. Like 4 you can write like that, or you can write like that. Sorry, it's backwards. And then 8, you know, do you do an 8 as a snowman, or do you do it as an infinity sign upright? You know, like those kinds of things. And the number 3 is really fun. 3 and 5. 5, they got a lot of character to them. And then 9s I find not great, because like if you hit the small part, it can just, is it a 1? Is it a 9? What's going on here? So anyway, so that's not really, I don't think that's really what the question was asking. I've been working through Outline Alphabets. It's one of my outstanding titles, and I don't always get to the numbers in it, and I do a lot of like lettering and numbers and stuff, and I've done a lot of 2s in the past couple years, because we're in the 2020, 2021, 2022. It's a lot of 2s. I'm kind of done with 2s, but that's not, I don't think that's really what the question is asking, but that's the best answer that I have. And then the last question is, do you have a book on your shelves with a number in the title or on the cover? It took me a while perusing the shelves. I did initially, like I was looking at this, but then there aren't any. This Story of Your Life and Others, it looks like it because there's a bunch of equation type things, but there's no actual numbers on there, which was, I didn't expect. And then I am getting back to reading Station 11, which is a number, but it's not a numeral, if I remember my things correctly. And then I did find Strengths Finder, 2.0. So there we go, a numeral by Tom Rath. Highly recommend this if you like, you know, doing tests and finding your aptitude for things. I found the information in this one extremely helpful, and my 5 top strengths really do say a lot about me and really help me understand the ways in which I work. So yeah, Strengths Finder was my answer for that one. And then I do have a bonus because I misunderstood one of the questions and I looked up the answer to what's the longest title that I am currently reading. So that's the one that how many pages are left in the book that you're reading. I misunderstood that as what's the longest title you're currently reading. And the longest title I'm currently reading is Conan the Barbarian Stories by Robert E. Howard. It's 1,086 pages long. I have 2 stories left with 165 pages to go. So that's one of my Finish by Halloween titles. Getting close there. So there you go. There are some numbers for you, some Booktube numbers for you. Let me know if you have a favorite number. I feel like I really didn't answer that correctly, but it was an interesting question to engage with. If you have not done this tag, feel free to do so. I will leave the questions, the original tag, and Berna's video, which is the one that I saw that inspired me to do this. I will leave all of that down below. And that's it for now. Thank you so much for watching, and I will be back with another video soon. Take care.